Hi everyone, this is Oksana and today we're going to make this fun little pendant. So this is actually a more difficult to make pendant. I'm going to put it in my intermediate category. So if you are just a beginner, try this at your own risk. It's just very slippery. The stone is moving around a lot. You have to just try to be able to hold everything in place while you're working before it, the stone gets locked in. But I think this is a cute little design and something quite different from the normal frame that I do. If you do like the look of this kind of style, I do have an older video as well on this style. I think that one might be a smidge easier than this, so I will link that below as well if you want to try that. So let's go ahead and get started making this pendant. This is the wire that I'm using. It's 20 gauge square copper from riogrande.com, and here's what it looks like. It's dead soft copper, so I'm going to use one piece of that to start off with. And the one piece measures 10 inches long, and then my stone is quite small. Yours can be slightly bigger. And it is a teardrop shape, and it's 15 millimeters. It looks like this. This is, it's called rainbow quartz, but it's a synthetic stone. That's a doublet that has like some shiny material on the back. Kind of looks like a CD type of material. Just very sparkly, but of course you can use any stone, and it doesn't have to have this kind of faceted surface as well. It could just be a normal teardrop cabochon that's just a pretty small size. Like this one doesn't have to be quite this small, it can be like 20 millimeters instead of 15, not a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our wire and we're going to bend it in the middle. All right, so just roughly kind of eyeball where the middle of your wire is and put a angular bend in that, like this. Now here's how it looks with the stone, but we can't actually, I can't even hold, this is gonna fall. Ooh, caught it. We can't actually bend the wire around the stone because we want little gaps all around it. So if we bend it around the stone, it's going to be too tight of a frame. So what I like to do to solve that problem is I take something round. So I have my ring mandrel, but you can also use like a marker or something, because I'm just using the smallest part here of my ring mandrel because I just needed something round. So I have this little point here. I'm just going to try and keep it nice and centered as I bend the rest of these wires, the wire ends here. I'm just kind of bending them to get this sort of shape, like a diamond shape. So then when I take my stone and I see how that looks, this is a good fit because there's just a little bit of space all around the stone. This didn't turn out to be like a huge frame or anything. And there's a little bit of space on the sides of the stone as well. So now I just need to bend the little wires here. So that they meet up with each other. So I'm just using my pliers to bend them like this, and then I do recommend hammering this if you can, because it's just really nice way to strengthen this frame. And then we want to hammer it, it'll strengthen the frame. So you just need an iron block or just something metal to hammer on, and then you need a chasing hammer, which is a jewelry type of hammer. This is a really old one I got like a million years ago on eBay, and then all you do is you just hit it. And the result is that your wire might look a little bit flatter. It might have some little dents in it from the hammer. We can just kind of flip it over on the other side. And I think it's nice that it kind of adds some texture. If you wanted even more texture, you could use the rounded side of the hammer. So by doing that, you'll make a textured frame like this, which is pretty cool. So now we're just gonna work on our bail here. So we have our 2 wires lined up together, and then I'm gonna just grab some half round wire. This is still connected to the spool. It's just 24 gauge half round. And what I wanna do is leave myself a nice little wire end of several inches, because we're going to use that. So the first thing you want to do with it is just make a few wraps to get it attached, and then leave the rest. Then we're just going to slide this down, and then we're going to keep wrapping with this wire that's attached to the spool. So I'm just turning the piece and guiding the wire so it doesn't get twisted. And you want to do this for a little bit. However, you don't want to do it for the normal amount that you do the bail for, because we want a part of the bail to not have this wrapping on it. So do like 80% of the way, and then the rest, I'll show you guys what we're going to end up doing. So this to me looks like a very short bail, like not quite enough. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So I'm just gonna take this and trim it and tuck it. And of course, if you did make a texture, make sure the texture is facing you. So that's the front. So the little wire end will be in the back. Just gonna press across this whole thing. Let's push that down if we can. All right, so this is what we have currently. And now what you want to do is, I'm just going to hold it here. I'm going to bend it forward, and I'm going to start creating my bail like this. I'm going to bring this down, and then if you notice, part of the bail doesn't have that wrapping on it because we didn't do this long enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this little wire, we're going to bring it all the way around, so it's going across the front like this. So it's just been wrapped around. Then we're going to take it and we're going to start wrapping it around this little portion here that doesn't have the half round wire around it. So by doing that, we are connecting this bail, making this connection here so it's not gonna, open up this way. And we're also finishing off this wire. So one more time, and then we can trim. All right, so once we filled that whole little gap in, I'm just gonna trim, leave myself a short little end so that I can tuck it in there into the bail, and then I'm gonna just press down on that, and we have finished the bail by making this wrap around it. And now we have these 2 wires going across the back here and just coming down here. So this is the back of our pendant. So I'm just going to separate them a little bit, and I want the little ends of them to be equidistant from the middle. So this little point here is the middle of my pendant. I just want one a little bit on one side, one a little bit on the other side. And of course they're gonna move as we do this, but try to kind of put them back and keep them equal and even. So now we're just gonna take the wire end, put it through here. So basically we're just gonna wrap this whole wire around. You can use your pliers to help. And you want it to be going here. So like when the wire came through, I didn't put it in here. I put it on this side. So if you're looking like this, it's on the right side. So here's our little wrap. Tightened it up as much as I could with my pliers. And now we're gonna do this other one. I'm gonna show you what this looks like from the front when you're doing it, since the other one I showed you the view from the back. So same thing, just wrapping it around, guiding it with my pliers, trying to tighten up that wrap as much as I can with my pliers. And then kind of uncurve this wire a little bit here. So you want these wires just coming straight at you. When you're done. I'm just gonna straighten it out a little bit. Got some bends in there. All right, so if you're holding it like this, the wires are just coming straight at me here. And now I'm gonna take my stone. I'm gonna pop my stone in there. And then if I take these wires and I kind of push them down onto the stone, here's what that looks like. So the stone is wobbly. It's not being held by anything right now, so you just have to try to hold it as you do this. And then I'm gonna curve these wires so that they curve onto the stone like this, and then the other one. And the tricky part is to get them to look similar, to have a similar kind of curve. Oh, so I just noticed this wire is lower than that one. So I'm just gonna move it upwards a little bit. I didn't even notice that when I had finished with my wrap. All right, is that more even? Yeah, that looks more even to me. All right, sorry about that. Put my stone back in there. So I'm just trying to get this curvature here of my wires to look the same. That's the hardest thing about these pendants, is trying to actually keep everything symmetrical and then have them come here at the same point as well. All right, so that looks pretty good. So now we're just gonna grab one more piece of 20 gauge square wire. So the same wire, and this one is 6 inches long. What you wanna do is start making a curve in the middle of it. And you want that to be, this is gonna sit on the top of our teardrop. So just try to get it, you know, similar size. And then the way that this is gonna go is it's gonna go underneath these wires here. You do want it on the front though, before the bail. So just kind of slide it in there. And then you can see it hitting the top of your teardrop like this. Just going to make it a little narrower. It moves. So just like this. And now I want to slide my little teardrop kind of up here and then put my thumb down on it, so I'm holding it. And the reason I wanted to do that is to create this little gap down here by sliding my teardrop up. Oh, it wants to slide down. I'm holding it up, pinching it, because we need the gap there, and we need it for these wires to go in. So I'm actually going to cut them a smidge shorter. That ended up being too long, the 6 inches. So what I'm going to do is start kind of curving them down a little bit, and then I'm going to take one end at a time. And oh, my teardrop keeps sliding down. That's okay. Just readjust my grip there, and then I want to take the end of the wire and I just want to tuck it in through that gap. That's why I want that gap there, so I can get in there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other end. That's why I cut them a little bit shorter, because if they're too long, it's kind of harder to feed them through the gap. So as of right now, it kind of discombobulated the whole wire here. But I'm going to just slowly and carefully push down on that wire and kind of feed it through a little bit at a time. All right, and then just one of these, I'm just gonna bend it to kind of lock it in place. And now I can kind of work on the other one some more. If I turn it towards myself, I can see how that's looking. So I think that just needs to be a little bit more narrow this way. And then let's see if that's gonna look even if I bend it. All right, so the wire itself and my teardrop just kind of moved to the side here, so I'm just gonna move it back towards the middle here. All right, so that's actually looking pretty good, pretty even. And let me just adjust this a little bit. There's too much of a curve in there. There we go. So this wire here is just going to come from back to front, and same thing with this one, back to front. Now they're pointing towards us here in the front, and what we're going to do is trim but leave a little end so that we can push that little wire end down. So then this little wire end that's sticking up right here, we're just gonna get in here with our pliers and just push that down, just like that. And then same thing with this little wire end. Just push down on that. There we go, just like that. So it kind of discombobulated the little shape here, and it started to go to that side again, to the left side. So I'm just gonna gently kind of push on these wires, move it back towards the middle, kind of center it like that. trying to get these to look as symmetrical as possible, which is can be pretty difficult. A little bit more. There we go. So now we can finish off these wires here. So we're just gonna bend them from front to back and then just trim and tuck away that little wire end by wrapping the little wire end basically around that little frame wire. So as we tuck it in there, you can see it forms like this little loop. There we go, you can see it better this way. And then by closing up that loop, it's like we've wrapped it around our little edge frame wire. So once you do one, you can do the second one. Try to get it in the same kind of location there. And then we're just gonna tuck that away in the same manner. Make sure it's all equal and even from the front still. So now we're just gonna work on this top portion. As you can see, these two wires here that are going across the back are visible through this gap. So one way we can fix that is by going here on the back, taking our pliers, sliding them up here, and actually kind of making this separation in them by bending them apart like that. And then you can also just get in there and press on them this way as well. So here it shouldn't affect down here. They're still going onto the back of the stone and still covering the stone, so it can't come out the back. But what that's done from the front is it's created this gap. So now instead of the two wires, you'll have a little empty gap there. Now it's up to you whether you like the look of that or you want to fill it with a bead. So if you want to fill it with a bead, all you have to do is just find a bead in your collection that kind of fits into this area here. So I have this bead that seems to fit fairly well. And we're just gonna wrap around the wires here to attach the bead. So I'm actually gonna, so once I wrapped around both wires that we have there, I'm just gonna wrap around the single wire because I feel like it's harder for this little half round wire to unravel when it's wrapped around just a single wire. So I'm just wrapping around that little edge here. So here's what that looks like so far, and now I'm just gonna bring it here on this side. So just like I did on the other side, I'm gonna wrap first around just both of those wires there. Make that nice and tight. And then after that, just gonna put it here. And it's just gonna go around our frame wire. So I'm just gonna try to do the same number of wraps that I did on the other side, so it'll be equal and symmetrical. Let's see here, I think that is the same now. All right, so here's what that looks like from the front. So we just trim the little wire ends there. And then we're gonna take and tuck away those little ends. And we are almost done. last little end. There we go, all done. So here's what that looks like as a finished piece. So it has a nice little simple look, but of course it wasn't very simple to make, was it? Especially trying to keep everything symmetrical and keep that stone that just wanted to go all over the place. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.